Hi, what's up? Mark Snookers here. You have to keep your strategy creation in-house and not hire external consultants. This is what I'll be arguing for, and I also share in what context it does make sense to hire external consultants. But let's just take things step by step. One thing that has become crystal clear to me in the 20 years that I've been doing strategy work successfully with companies large and small all over the globe is that handing over your strategy work to external consultants is a recipe for disaster and at least mediocrity, and it just leads to a lot of money wasted. So why is that? I think that the way how the typical big consulting firms do strategy is plainly wrong. And yes, this is me, Mark Snookers, independent consulting, telling McKinsey's and the like that they are wrong, and I stand by that opinion. So how are they wrong? Why are they wrong? Why do I think that they are wrong? Well, they usually come into a company, they do 3 to 6 months of analysis, and then they deduce a strategic path forward. Now, usually it's all extremely well documented, it's justified. I mean, these people are incredibly smart, of course, but the problem is that very often, as many of you have certainly experienced firsthand, these strategies just disappear in the drawers or their digital equivalents, and people don't act on them. And the reason for this is because the strategy is not homegrown. It's imposed from the outside, and even if it makes logical sense, it's really rational and objectively correct, it is still won't get done because people in your organization don't identify with it. You know how in psychology the most effective way to get somebody to do something is to make them believe that it was their idea, and this is also the whole idea with strategy. So maybe you've seen the movie Inception. That's the whole premise of it. If you haven't seen it, it's all about a team of people hacking into the subconscious mind of a billionaire and changing his mind about a business transaction by implanting thought, a conviction into his mind. So the idea here is kind of the same. So based on my 20 years of successfully designing and executing strategies with companies large and small around the globe, one of the key success factors really is to keep your strategy work in-house. And not just because of the homegrown factor. There's 5 more good reasons that I'd like to illustrate here. So reason number 1, consultants don't know your organization, its history, culture, and ways of working. So they might know the industry, they might be able to perform a lot of sophisticated and impressive analyses, but they simply don't have the full picture. They don't know your specific customers, they don't know why they chose you, they don't know the specifics of your organization, and a couple of interviews won't certainly make them the expert in all of that. So a good strategy requires a deep understanding of what's going on in your company and in your market. And your business your people have that knowledge, and your business has an organizational memory that doesn't really translate well to outsiders. Reason number 2, consultants believe that a strategy can be logically deduced from analysis. I mean, that's what they're good at. They're good at doing analysis. But I just don't believe a good strategy can come from analysis. Yes, of course, analysis is important. You need all the facts. You need to have good data. All these things are important. But strategy is about imagination. It's about shaping the future. It's about challenging your current beliefs. And you won't find any of that in the data. Roger Martin, a strategy guru, one of the leading management thinkers in the world, always says that last time he checked, strategy was all about the past, so it doesn't tell you anything about the future. Number 3, following best practices is not a strategy. So often consultants are hired because they know what others are doing and they can tell you where you fall behind. They are the gurus of best practices. Now, that might be a valid reason for hiring a consultant, but simply copying best practices doesn't make for good strategy. So this will only allow you to catch up with what others are already doing. And in this, you are always a follower. You are always behind, because the moves that you and the consultants see a competitor doing in the market is a result of a strategy that has been set months or even years before. So if you're following best practices, what you're really doing is following decisions that have been made in somebody else's boardroom, possibly many years ago. So a good strategy is about differentiating, it's about delivering superior value, it's about putting innovation into your strategy, so you won't achieve that by copying and pasting what others are doing. Reason number 4 why you should keep strategy in-house: sometimes strategy just requires more time. Consultancies operate often on the basis of a fixed project. So you get a team for, say, 3 months, there's a budget, and at the end you expect to be presented with a strategy, and very often at the end the people on your team have already also been assigned to the next customer and the next strategy project. And I've seen executive teams come up with good ideas in 2-day offsites, and I've seen teams that needed 6 months to get to the required insight. So the thing is that you can't know how much time it will take. If you're faced with a deadline and you need to stay within the budget, you just come up with something, no matter how good or bad it is, and no matter whether you really had that imagination and that insight, or maybe not, and time was just up and something needed to be put on PowerPoint and presented. So a good strategy often requires time for thinking, reflection, pondering different options, talking to clients, and so on, and you just can't force it. And a good strategy also needs to be put into action to see whether it actually works, and very often it might need fine-tuning long after the consultants are gone. Reason number 5, your strategy is, and this is the most important actually, your strategy is your responsibility. So think about it this way. If strategy is really the supreme discipline of leadership, and if a good strategy makes all the difference when it comes to success of your organization, how can you outsource such a crucial work to somebody else? I mean, think about it. Right? You're placing the future of your company in the hands of somebody who has no responsibility whatsoever for how things will go. Sure, if it doesn't work, you can always blame it on the consultants, but they of course will blame you for bad execution of their otherwise brilliant strategy. A very good recent example that illustrates what can happen if you rely too much on external consultants is the CNN Plus fiasco in 2022. I'm pretty sure you heard about it. This turned out to be quite a big deal. So the story is that CNN wanted to launch a paying streaming platform, and it hired an external consultant to advise on how to do that. At the end of the day, it lost hundreds of millions of dollars on it, and it was a major PR disaster for them as well as for the consultancy. And CNN was advised by one of the big strategy consultants on this, but they shut the service down within 1 month because it wasn't working and they couldn't get enough customers. So I'm sure the data said customers want it, but probably nobody ever talked to customers, and at the end it didn't work. So let's just say it's a risky move to rely too heavily on traditional consulting firms when it comes to the heart of your business, which is your strategy. So what is the right way then? Should you not use any external people at all when you're setting strategy? Well, so I'm probably a little bit biased because this is exactly what I do. Well, I like to think about myself as a strategy mentor and coach and facilitator, so not a consultant in the classic sense. And many of my clients, indeed, they come to me because they have worked with traditional consultants before, and for all the reasons that I mentioned above, it hasn't worked, and now they are looking for something different. And I actually operate on a completely different approach. So what I do is to facilitate strategic conversations with your executive team and other stakeholders, and I make sure that everybody is aligned, everybody is committed, and everybody had a say in how or what the strategy of your company would be. So what I'm most certainly not doing is telling you what your strategy should be. You develop your strategy, you find your answers, and I help you along the way, and I make sure that you have a good strategy. I help you just do that. I help you structure the process. I have the expertise, I give you the tools, and I just guide you on this journey. Of course, I will not hold back with my opinion, but because the relationship is so clearly established and the roles are defined the way they are, my opinion will just be one among the many others to consider. Because again, you are in charge, you make the decisions, and it's your strategy at the end of the day. So let me know if you disagree, and if you have heard of successful consultant-sourced strategies. I'm really open to having my mind changed, but until you bring me truly compelling evidence, I'll continue insisting that companies need to keep their strategy creation in-house. So take care now, and see you soon.